Hey coders, this is Neha from WebStack. Welcome to another interesting episode on Node.js. So in this video, finally we are going to dive into Node.js and we will be creating our very own Node server. So let's get started. Before starting the video, if you are new to the channel, don't forget to subscribe to WebStack and hit the bell to get all the notifications. Before creating Node.js server, let's first see what are the core modules that are available in Node.js. So core modules are the packages that are already being installed when you download Node.js package. So some of them are HTTP, HTTPS, we have OS, FS as well as path module. So HTTP is something, a very high-end package that is used. So it is used to launch your Node.js server and also it's helpful in handling your request objects. So whatever user is sending a request or it is requesting for some data, all that is handled by your HTTP. And other module is HTTPS, which is actually a secure version of HTTP. So S stands for SSL layer in that. And the third module that we have is OS, which stands for operating system. So it will actually tell all the configurations of your operating system, like how much memory your system is having, what is a free memory, and what is a total memory, and all that kind of stuff it will be telling you. So the next module we have is FS. This is a very important module and we are going to use it in the coming lectures. So FS stands for file system and it is actually letting us access our file systems inside our local machine. Like we can read from a file, write into a file, append it, and so on. So a lot of functionalities is provided by this module. And we also have path module, which will be helpful in handling the file paths. So let's dive into VS Code and check out how to create Node.js server. So for creating Node.js server, we will be using HTTP module as I have already discussed that HTTP can be used to launch our server. So let us create one new file here in this project. I will simply write the name of the file as app.js, but if you want to give any other name to this file, you are free to do that. But generally, we follow this convention that whatever is our main file that is getting started, we write the name as app.js. So I have one more file here as you can see, we have git ignore file. So this file is generally I'm maintaining the versions, that is why I am actually using this file. But if you're not maintaining the versions of your project, you can generally skip that part. So let's first import the HTTP module into our program. So to do that, we will be using a method that is globally available in Node that is called require. So whenever you are going to include any module, be it a global module or a user-defined module, you will always use require method. So inside it, I'll write HTTP and generally this HTTP module returns something. So we will keep it inside a constant called HTTP. This name can be anything which you want, but generally we keep it as the same name as our module. And also I'm keeping it as constant. If you want, you can write where as well. You can write let here as well. But normally I don't need to actually change this HTTP constant. That is why I'm keeping it as a constant value. So generally, if you are not writing anything like slash here in front of it or dot slash, that simply means that you are including a global module. But in future, if you are trying to include a user module, we will write it as dot slash, which will actually find this module inside your local directory. So right now this HTTP is a global one which is already available. So I will not include this dot slash part. We will be looking at this in the later part in this series. So now let's try to explore this HTTP object that we have created. So I'll just write HTTP dot And here you can see a lot of functionalities are available in HTTP module. We can have create server, we have get, as well as various other functions also are provided. So let's use a create server method because definitely we are going to create a server. And if you see this hover, there is a suggestion of this create server method. We are seeing here something that is called request listener. So this create server function is actually expecting a request listener inside this as a parameter. So what does that mean? So request listener is nothing but a normal function which we pass inside create server and that listens to every request user makes on the server or on the browser. So let's create a function here. I'll just create a function with the name as request listener, and this request listener function actually expects two arguments, that is request and response. It doesn't matter whether you write the name as R or S, or even if you can write the complete name like this. But what matters is that the first argument that it expects is request object and the second argument shall be your response object. So now I will be just writing something inside this function. Let's say console.log and I'll say inside server. And now you need to actually pass this function inside your create server method. So I'll simply write req listener. So that means my server should be created and it should be running now. So let's try and execute that. I'll open the terminal, and if you are using the CMD on Windows or your command line, so make sure that you are navigated to your directory in which you are writing the programs. So here I am automatically navigated to this Node Beginners course here. So I'll simply just write node and then I'll run it with the help of node command. And now you can see nothing happened here and nothing is getting printed on the console because there is one thing missing in this code. We have created the server, but we have not told that server that where it needs to execute or where it needs to run. So for that, we need to actually provide a port number. For that, what I need to do is this create server. It returns a server object. So I'll just write it in some const variable that is server here. So I will store it in some constant that is server. And after that, I'll write server dot listen. So this listen will actually expect a port number. We will be using it when we are working on the local environment like now, but after that when our website is live, we are not going to use this port number anymore. That will automatically take the HTTP port number, that is 80. So now I'll write any port number here, let's say 3000. Even if you want to give any other port number, let's say 5000, it is totally valid. So whatever port number is free on your system, you can provide that port number here. So now the program is complete and let's try to execute it. So I'll simply write node app, oops, and now you can see nothing is happening. My cursor has been stuck and I'm not even getting the next prompt. So what happened just there? So this is now my server which is up and running and it is expecting for some user request. So let's go on to the browser and hit that URL, that is localhost colon 5000. If I execute this, you can see the browser keeps on loading because we are not sending any response on the browser, and that makes sense. Let's go to the VS Code and check out. Yes, now I'm getting something printed on my console. So it is now printing this message inside server. And now if I hit it again, let's say like this, it will again print me that same statement. So every time you hit this request, it will actually start logging your statements inside the console. So how is this happening? So my request listener, which I have provided inside this create server, this is a special function or a listener you can say which doesn't get exited and it keeps on running as long as you have the request. So every time it will expect a request and as soon as you give that request, it will execute this statement. So now there is one more thing I want to make here. Instead of giving this function outside, I can also directly provide it inside my create server. So let's try to do that. I'll just simply remove this, and instead of this request listener giving here, I'll simply provide a function like this. And we all know that this is called anonymous function. So inside it, same, we will pass this request and response. And here I will be writing, whoops, console.log, and then I can say server running, something like that. So now if I just press Ctrl C, execute this program again, you can see that we are getting server running because my browser or my request is already being running in the browser. And also, most of the time, I'm not going to use this anonymous function. I will be using next-gen JavaScript, for which you can write here simply an arrow function. So I'll remove this function keyword and I'll provide an arrow here like this, and I'll press save. So this will work exactly same like it was working earlier. So now it is actually expecting the request every time it is running. So let's try that again. Let's clear the screen and again execute this node app. So I again got this server running. So this request listener is actually continuously listening to my request, and as soon as user gives a request on the browser, it will simply hit that request and will execute this code. So congratulations, you have created your very first program in Node.js. So that's it for this video guys. I hope you enjoyed it, and if you do, please give us a thumbs up and do share it with your friends so that we can reach out to more and more people out there. So we'll see you in the next video.